Today we're going to talk about circumference, which should not be new to you. We might throw one little twist in, but it's not a bad twist. So as a review, circumference is either 2 times pi times the radius, or we know 2 radii is equivalent to a diameter. So you can either use 2 pi r or you can use pi d. Either way. I use them both because if my problem is involving a radius, I use 2 pi r. If my problem involves a diameter, I use pi d. But technically, you could just use one all the time, right? And then at the end, if you needed a diameter, you could take 2 times your radius or whatever. Okay. So the twist is that a lot of times in geometry, we leave our answers in terms of pi. Okay, we're going to talk about what that means. So it says, find the circumference of a circle with a radius of 3 meters in terms of pi. What it means is we don't just multiply pi out. Okay? So we know circumference is 2 pi r. So I'm going to have 2 times pi times my radius, in this case is 3. So if I simplify that, that's 6 pi meters, and that's my final answer. If I'm going to leave it in terms of pi, means we don't press pi on our calculator, we don't multiply by 3.14. It's an exact answer. Kind of like when you were doing radicals, you know how you would have like radical 3 is your answer versus 1 point whatever it is, because that 1 point whatever is a rounded version of it. Okay, this is an exact answer. So anytime I put it in my calculator, I start rounding my answers. Another reason we like to leave things in terms of pi is oftentimes when we're solving for parts, pi will cancel out, but we wouldn't necessarily know it if we had multiplied it through. So the next problem says, if a circle has a circumference of 24 meters, find the length of the radius. So again, we have 2 pi r. So my circumference assigned is 24 pi. I want to solve for my radius. Well, in order to get my radius by itself, I would need to divide by 2 pi. So pi divided by pi, that's a unit of 1. And 24 divided by 2 is 12. So my radius there is equal to 12. So this is one of those where my circumference would have been some ugly decimal. I wouldn't necessarily recognize that if I divided by pi, that would have my radius there. Okay, so sometimes it simplifies things for us. Any questions on those? All right, I just want to do one story problem with you, and then you'll have the rest of the time to work on your homework. It says, if the diameter of the Earth is 8,000 miles, find the average speed in miles per hour that Phileas Fogg needs to circumnavigate the Earth about the equator in 80 days. All right, so we want to ultimately find miles per hour, right? So he's going to go around the equator. We want to know miles per hour. So the first thing I need to figure out, if we know the diameter of the Earth is 8,000, I need to find the distance around, which is my circumference. Okay, so this I know I'm going to use diameter, pi d, because it's giving me my diameter. So the circumference of the Earth, in this case, is 8,000 pi miles. Notice that we want our answer, our final answer, in miles per hour, right? Means miles needs to be in my numerator. So the miles we now know is at 8,000 pi. Now I need to figure out the number of hours. So he wants to go for 80 days. Right? He has to do it in 80 days. And I need to multiply that by 24, because 24 hours in every day. 1920? Yeah, thank you. So that's 8,000 pi divided by 1920. Right, so now this is one case where you don't want to leave your answer in terms of pi. Right? You're not going to tell someone they need to go 4.2 miles or 4.2 pi miles per hour. Right? Because that's stupid. They're like, well, that's not on my speedometer. Okay, so 8,000 pi divided by 1920 gives you about 13.1 miles per hour. So if it's a true application problem, multiply through by pi, and I would use your pi button. Don't use 3.14, use your pi button. Okay. Other than that, I'm always okay if you leave your answer in terms of pi. unless it says otherwise. Okay. Any questions about circumference?